Так. Колеги, доброго дня.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. We welcome you all at our event.
Перш ніж почати,
First of all, before we start, I would make several organizational comments. Please make sure that your mic is
учасників
off
на
to
цій зустрічі
prevent any
запрошуємо
problems for the speakers. We provide the simultaneous interpretation for all our participants from English to Russian and vice versa.
Zoom, ви знайдете
And you will see the
інструкцію про те, як цим користуватися. Натиснувши на нього, ви можете вибрати
instruction how to use it, and you select the desirable language.
Змінювати цей канал залежно від того, залежно від мови відповідача. Colleagues, I welcome everyone to our event today. Before we begin, I kindly ensure that your microphone is muted to prevent any disruptions. We offer simultaneous translation for our speakers' remarks from English to Ukrainian and vice versa. Some participants will speak in Ukrainian, others will use English. On the bottom panel of your Zoom screen, you will find the translation icon. By clicking on it, you can select the preferred language for listening this event. Throughout the event, you can switch between the channels in order to listen to the translation that is comfortable for you. Now I switch back to Ukrainian. Мене звуть Анастасія Верещинська.
My name is Anastasiya Vereshchitska. I'm director of the European-Ukrainian Energy Agency. We are going to speak about Smart EU, a project financed by the EU Commission and the European Energy Agency and Association of Energy Efficient Cities of Ukraine, including all other organizations from the EU. The goal of this project is to create preconditions for development of green construction and housing after the war, rebuilding. It includes introducing certification system and development of funding mechanisms for both developers and population, green mortgages. So I'm waiting impatiently for our speakers today who would be willing to tell how it was introduced in other countries and how they could help in Ukraine. Before we come to our speakers, I give the floor to Sviatoslav Pavlyuk from the Association of Energy Efficient Cities of Ukraine, and then we will continue. Sviatoslav, you have the floor. Thanks, Anastasia. Just my connection was resumed. I only heard thank you. I cannot add anything more, but some gratitude from our organization. I think that all talks that we speak today in Ukraine about Green Deal and rebuilding depend on how we win the war, and because without winning, we will never talk about contracts and rebuilding. But at the same time, we are to follow this agenda and develop certain standards, capacity building, and perform works following the highest standards. I'm very thankful to our partners and everybody who got enrolled to this meeting and involved in these activities. Because now we are formulating infrastructure and at this point probably I'll finish and we will continue the professional discussion. Thank you very much. Decade ahead. Therefore, we gather here today not waiting for the war to end. We are to discuss how we should achieve this target given our resources available now and our interaction with international partners. Now given the floor to our following speaker, Alexander Hedesius from EnerSafe She is our partner for Smarter for EU project, and Alexandra will tell about the green funding issues, how it could be coordinated with EU taxonomy, and what opportunities are there to implement those in Ukraine. Alexandra, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. I hope that you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Yes, I might have some technical issues, so I'm going to excuse myself right now just in case that happens. I'm going to slowly, hopefully, share my screen and try to also control my presentation if possible. Yeah, so I hope that you can see it. Thank you for the introduction, Anastasia, and thank you very much, Mr. Cox, for a wonderful presentation, very passionate and very informative. I feel that my presentation is a little bit redundant right now, because I think that a lot of topics were covered out of, yeah, obviously the ones that when we are talking about green finance, one we need to cover. But I think it was a fantastic introduction for what green finance is, what is EU taxonomy, how is this going to play up into the Ukrainian environment. I mean, clearly, I think that this is it's a very heavy topic, and it's not something that one is going to clearly manage to solve in a 20 minutes presentation, but I'm going to just present a high level, let's say, overview of what's going on at the European level, why green finance is very important, and just reinforce, I think, yeah, as you're going to find out, all the points that were presented before me by our esteemed speaker. So I'm not sure if the presentation is moving. I would just need a kind nod or a yes in terms of slides.
Yeah, you still see the first slide.
Yeah.
The one with the
you still see the first, okay. And so you can't see, and now?
Yeah, still on the first slide.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to need to talk about it. I'm going to, yeah, or either Anastasia, maybe you can try to share your screen in case it's going to work.
Now it's on overview.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, apologies for this small technical problem. I'm sure that everybody knows this slide by heart. I think that it is presented at every EU event, webinar, and everything that has to do with the built environment, with the carbon footprint, and with everything that the European Union is trying to achieve. And so clearly buildings are responsible for approximately 40% of the EU energy consumption, more than half of the EU gas consumption, and 30% of the energy-related green gas emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. And this is why at present, only 35% of the EU's building block are over 50 years old, and almost 75% are energy efficient. At the same time, on the European side, in the member states, you know, we are also having a lag. The average annual energy renovation rate is only of 1%, approximately 1%. This is why you have a big push from the European Commission side, because we as well at the European level with member states, we are not doing a great job either. So we need incentives, we need a bit of a push, and we need, like it was stated before, that all the stakeholders, the entire ecosystem, from construction to financiers, to end clients, to residential, to companies, to come together and understand that this is a necessity and this is something that needs to happen. But in order for that to happen, sometimes you need to have a bit of a, let's say, encouragement from a policy perspective, encouragement from directives, encouragement from member states, and also a pressure from, you know, from the civil society that also needs to start making these demands and make sure that these requirements are being held and people are being accountable for. So as we're going to see, the Commission, by the renovation wave strategy and everything, the Green Deal, and absolutely all the let's say, roadmap and everything that has to the EU Taxonomy, all the directives that are coming into place, all the reporting requirements that are being put on the financiers' shoulders, the aim is to reduce. The aim is to at least reduce to reduce the carbon footprint, the greenhouse emission, but also to double renovation rates by 2030 and to reach net zero by 2050. An introduction to green finance, and I'm just going to very briefly browse through it. As it was stated, when we are talking also about green finance, we have different stakeholders that are put into play, but we also need to have the proper setting to be able that this different players are going towards the right direction. And we're already seeing, I mean, NSA, we are finance facilitator for sustainable assets. We've been working in this field for the last, I think, 10 years, and we are based in Luxembourg, which is one of the biggest centers in terms of, you know, funds and ESG transactions, energy bonds, green bonds, everything is happening in Luxembourg. And we are seeing that this is an increased trend, and we are seeing that there is a demand for this type of assets. The problem is that they are not there yet. And as was stated before by Mr. Cox, in order to have green assets, in order to have green products that one can finance, we need to make sure that they are aligned with the EU Taxonomy, that they are ticking all the boxes. So green finance, it means every product that is having investments and services and financial products that promote environmental sustainability and also shows social, has a good social impact. I'm sorry, I'm losing a little bit my voice. The idea is that they need to address climate change, and they need to be aligned with the Paris Agreement goals that were taken by the EU. From this point of view, we have the central role of central banks, which is an essential role because they need to encourage financial institutions to invest in environmentally sustainable projects. At the European level, you have the European Banking Authority, which is, let's say, steering banks and demanding that, for example, the green ratio portfolio of their portfolio is being a positive one. So they need to start making sure that what they're investing in starts to be quite green. So they're greenifying their portfolio. Then you need to assess and monitor all the climate-related financial risk. And this, again, is a heavy task because it's such a new topic and everybody's just trying to navigate through it. So it is monumental work. Then developing regulatory framework to promote green investment. Then we would have the monetary policy and all the reporting directives that are coming into place. And one that I was mentioning is the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, which is very important, and the EU Taxonomy alignment. So this is the pressure that is coming on the financial stakeholders. So for anybody and for all the financial players that would like to be part of the European cluster, and they're going to be part, and Ukraine clearly is going to be embedded in the European Union because steps are being taken, and it's the natural next step. All the players will need to also make sure that they're going to be aligned as everybody else in the European Union is trying to align. The good news is that it's a long process, and it's a process that we are living it as well as we go through it. So you're not going to be the only ones that are learning this. We are learning together with you, and we're going to build this together with you. And I think that that's a little bit reassuring to know that you're not the only ones that are going through this. I'm not going to linger on to this slide because it was very accurately explained before. So we have the European Green Deal, we have the regulatory framework, we have the green bonds, and we have the different directives. The good news is that at an European level, what we haven't been seeing here in personally our company, and now we're seeing, is that the scene is set. The roadmap is clear. We have all the tools and all the elements put into play into proper spots to be able to start operating and to be able to start having traction and starting to drive private finance in the transition. Because clearly we will not be able to achieve, neither at European level, but neither at the Ukrainian level, any transition via grants and via donations and via donors. We need to have investment trigger into this space. We need to have private investors, we need to have banks, we need to have funds that are starting to massively pour their money here. And that includes, and we need to take advantage of all the tools that are out there. So for crowdfunding, to pension funds, we need to create the financial products so this market can grow exponentially as it should, to be able to actually reach the transition and the net zero that everybody is talking about. The Energy Performance Directive, Energy Performance of Buildings Directive is one of the, let's say, centerpieces amongst also the Energy Efficiency Directive. Before I focus personally on this because I think that it's tackling more than just the energy efficiency of building. It's tackling the entire, let's say, spectrum, because we are talking also about sustainable mobility, so green electric vehicles, infrastructure that needs to be put in place. It touches upon zero emission standards for new buildings. It's exactly what Mr. Cox was talking about before. Then the prioritization of renovation to combat also energy poverty, which is a reality. And my colleague Eva is going to touch upon that later on. You will have a unified energy performance certification. So we need to make sure that the EPC level is being upgraded at the European level, and also that there's a common template, because although we, it is the European Union, we are member states, we are different. We have different interpretation, we have different legacies that come to the table. So unification and having a common standard is very important. This is why EU Taxonomy is very important, because it sets the rules. It sets the benchmarks. It tells very clearly what can be done, what cannot be done, what is green and what is not green. And if this didn't happen before, when we had multiple, even when we're talking about ESG and compliance, if we had multiple methodologies that were used at the global level, now the EU is setting up our own rules and says, this is what we need to comply with, this is the path, this is how you get there, and this is why this is good. And I think that it kind of ticks all the boxes from this point of view, and it makes a bit of a light in the end of the tunnel, because before it was a little bit confusing and a little bit difficult also for funds to define, are they green or not? Is an investment green? Can I be accused of greenwashing? Can I be accused of social washing? And these are not words that funds would like to have attached to their own name. Then when we're talking about non-residential building standards, there are minimum energy performance standards that there are also targets that are embedded, and they're very clear. We have 16% of the worst performing non-residential buildings that need to be renovated by 2030 and improve, and 26% by 2033. So as we can see, everything it's quite set, and the standards are out there. I'm not going to linger on the Ukrainian situation. I think that what is very clear, and I would like to reinforce what I stated before, I think that this is a massive opportunity. I think that Ukraine is like a blank canvas. You can paint whatever you want on it. It's your choice. And I think, although it's not, it's far from being ideal, the situation that Ukraine is, it is an opportunity that you need to seize. It is a moment in time and I think in where we are finding ourselves as Europe as well. We are at the crunch point. There is a crisis moment, and I think that one really needs to take advantage and to build yourself better, and to be the leaders in this case, because you will be the leaders of net zero and the green transition, obviously. Whilst we are needing to still deal with our own old type of buildings and how we need to do it, you have an opportunity, and you will be able to also attract the finance for it. Clearly, these are just numbers, and because the war is not stopped and we are not at the peace point, these are going to continue to grow. And as well, not only the numbers, but also the financial need, the investment need. So clearly these are a few numbers, and as you can see, I put here 750 billion and then 1 trillion, just because it keeps on growing. So clearly it's encompassing the fact that sector-wise, all the sectors have been affected in Ukraine. There needs to be investment, from housing to transport to commerce to industry to agriculture to energy to everything that has to do with with the situation that is in Ukraine. Now, and this is why I said that maybe my presentation is a bit redundant because it's a bit repetitive after the presentation of Mr. Cox. But indeed, donors and development banks are not going to be able to provide the 1 trillion that we're talking about to reconstruct Ukraine. This is why it's very important. The private sector and investment for this are crucial for financing. And this is why it's important that Ukraine is aligned and spearheading the green transition, because by doing so is going to be like a sponge absorbing all the pockets and all the funds that are around Europe in Ukraine to be able to actually rebuild the country as it should, and have this independence and autonomy when it comes to energy, and have the independence when it comes to everything that has to do, set up your own processes, and indeed, like it was stated before, procurement, green procurement processes. How do you acquire? How do you build? Everything is put into place, and everything it should be. Obviously, the more it is aligned to what the EU's targets, the more it's going to be easier for Ukraine to attract finance. This is one of the reasons why in some countries at the European level it's very difficult to attract funding, just because they are not there yet. There are not so many green products on the market. One of the issues that we are having as financiers and as facilitators of finance is that very often you have funds or pension funds that are searching for big ticket size, and there are none, because the granularity of the market, because it is still a process, because a lot of the companies are still learning how to go green. Clearly, green mortgages in this case, when we're talking about the residential sector, is one of the items that we are very, very passionate about, the Smarter Finance for EU, and we are promoting, but also it's one of the innovative elements that can be pushed to the market, and it's one way of engaging the banks. So, and why? And the reasons are very, 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 let's say, yeah, very clear. And it's because there's a risk reduction for the banks. If you're saving, then clearly you're going to enable the borrowers to better service loans, but there's also less default risk, because they would have more money in the pocket to be able to repay. Then you would have an increased property value over time, minimizing all the risk associated with the loan. There's a long-term value proposition. There's incentives for green investments that banks are offering, and also like structures like the EIB and the EBRD have this type of, let's say, de-risking mechanism proposals on the in their structures. There's an expanding finance opportunity. Green mortgages attract additional private investors for renovation, for involving mortgage banks. There is a market growth, and there's a demand for green products, and also it also, on the flip side, you would, as a bank, you would be more aligned with the regulation, compliance, and reporting elements that come attached to it. Now we would have here, I would have had just one more slide before I'm going to finish. This is the available tools for green homes and green mortgages programs that were based on the prior program that was financed by the EU Horizon 2020 project, and now the current one, where our Ukrainian partners are also here. Available tools for green home. We are having a couple of tools. I'm not going to go through all of them because Eva is also going to present, and there's a bit of an overlap, so I'm going to let her dive into it. And I'm going to thank you for your attention. I hope that this proved to be a bit helpful and insightful. Thank you very much.
Дякуємо дуже, Олександро.
Thank you, Alexandra. It was very informative presentation about available funding instruments. In fact, it was very valuable, and don't bother about repetition. These are the things that we are to emphasize again and again in order to continue the discussion, so that more stakeholders could learn about them. Now we come to our following speaker, Irina Sukhadon from AC Council of Ukraine. AC Consultant is the company participant of the European Energy Association. Welcome, Irina. The company is a big expert in engineering and technical consulting. And therefore, we are glad to have our good experts among our participants who could help us with their expertise in some project. Irina, you have the floor. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. I will share the presentation. Can you see my presentation in full screen mode? Then we start. Good afternoon. My name is Irina Sukhodub, and as Anastasia told, I work IC Consulate Ukraine, and I deal with projects associated with energy modeling and green certification of buildings. IC is a member of EUEA, so smarter unit. You know, we are glad to be a part of that process. Today, we are going to speak about current situation and perspective of using the green certification for residential buildings in Ukrainian conditions. We will consider the national aspects. So a couple of words about the company. The office has more than 50 staff members. And in 2023, you know, it was the 10th anniversary since the official registration, but the actual projects, you know, started much earlier. We provide services in many areas. One is energy efficiency, renewables, environmental protection, technical re-equipment of buildings, the green certification. We work with our Austrian colleagues, Clean Energy Solution, and it allows us to provide a broad range of services and cover many moments. Full-fledged spectrum of green certification services. Now we will speak about conditions of Ukraine and green certification systems. I would introduce into the types of green certification. You should understand of advantages of the green certification and what people could get. Potential future users of buildings. The greatest advantage is the reduction of energy and water consumption and other resources, energy efficiency solutions from the renewables, waste management, both in the construction and operation, improving air quality inside buildings, improving life quality, using environmental non-toxic materials produced following the ethic principles and the like. And there are numerous advantages. I listed the main ones here. Energy consumption, reduction of carbon footprint, and the reduction of operational and current expenditures. The system of international certification that encourage that they are not all here. We are using those who have experience of working in Ukraine and were certified in Ukraine. One of the first is LEED, American system. It has 8 certified projects and 21 project is registered at different stage. Unfortunately, there are no certified residential buildings. because before this residential building certification was not used. The next one is the British certification program. We have the 4 certification and 4 final stage certification. There have been projects like and use. But currently this system could not be used in Ukraine, and all the certification projects were suspended by the certifying entity. You cannot register or certify new or recertify the earlier certified projects. So this statistic is not full. Some buildings were certified following end use certificate, and it has expired already. One of the buildings, Trim, was certified for residential, but unfortunately now we cannot apply this certification system now, and we do not consider it so far. EDGE, it's another certification system. Currently we have only one certified building. DGNB, German system, we have the one building, but neither of them have designs of residential buildings certified following those certification programs. So speaking about prospective certification program in Ukraine, that could be used лідерство в енергетичному та екологічному проєктуванні. Leadership in energy, this is an American system. And this is the broadly used certification program in the world. Even in Ukraine, it's been utilized quite broadly. The certification is done by independent expert. There are certain levels of certification which are referring to certain points. The platinum, gold, and silver. So far, platinum level is not. We use silver and gold only. It means that 50 to 79 points, the maximum number of points as per lead is 110 points. So we still have the opportunity to grow. Speaking about different certification systems, we could use them for various projects like building operation and maintenance, could be used for overhauls and reconstruction, could be used for reconstruction of districts of different types. This certification could differ depending on conditions, but all types of buildings and design cycle are covered from brand new construction ending up with operation of buildings. Also, specifics of residential building is a separate thing that could be used in Ukraine. Speaking about multidisciplinary approach, so the LEED system is quite broad. It takes into account a broad range of aspects while construction, especially BD+C project for residential buildings. So you can see the breakdown by categories and the maximum number of points for each category. Among the greatest categories, this is the atmosphere. quality of the environment and air quality inside the premise. With regards to future users, also transportation, efficiency of water consumption, and the like. It is good to note that the projects undergoing certification should have prerequisites and should gain certain number of points for the certification. Certification lead brand new construction projects. First, we develop the certification strategy, then design and submission of the design for design review, then the construction and commissioning, and then construction review, and then on the construction stage you get the final certificate, and the certification process is interlinked with the development process, and all these stages that the brand new construction goes through. Speaking about EDGE, it's excellent in design and greater efficiency. This is the brand new certification system, which is not so widely spread in Ukraine, but we have the potential of using it for residential construction. EDGE was created by International Finance Corporation, is being spread by IFC, and it's has free software which could analyze efficiency of water consumption and material consumption. This is the useful tool not only for the certification but also for buildings. It has the international certification system, and to compare it with LEED, it's smaller, it's simpler, and it considers three categories: energy consumption, water consumption, and materials. For the project to be certified, you should get 20% reduction for water energy consumption and embroidered materials in the materials. To other certification, we have three-level certification, from certified, advanced, and zero carbon. For certified, you need to get 20% reduction for all the country. For advanced level, you need to get 14% in addition to water consumption and energy consumption drop, to increase energy consumption up to 40%. And zero carbon level, you could only get the operation stage of the building, so that the energy need is covered through the energy need or reduction of zero carbon footprint. This is our target. The certification process resembles very much all others. EDGE expert comes to help to arrange the process, and then independent auditor comes in who checks. Also, you can certify different types of buildings in the brand new construction and the existing buildings, including the residential buildings that are subject to our concern within project guidelines given this certification system. The same assessment as in other projects, and also checking documentation at the design stage, and design submission and design audit, receiving the preliminary certificate, and then a submission for the construction state and verification in the construction. And final certification, contrary to the lead, we visit the construction site and verify the process on the site. Also, the perspective of implementing green certification of residential building given the Ukrainian conditions. Currently, we have two approaches that could be considered on the market is using international green certification systems or creation the national green certification system. Each of these approach has certain advantages and disadvantages. For example, the international systems are well recognized and known, especially by the financial organizations, by banks, and who can provide some preferred loans for certain types of users. But it drags increasing cost and complication as a result of implementation of these standards. Another standard requires availability of the company for certification, but the cost and recognition could be cheaper. In Ukraine now, the green energy efficiency construction standard for public buildings are being used, and they use the existing standard from the lead organizations. Soon the standard would be available for the public hearing, and we will use it for residential buildings. And a little bit about examples of projects in Ukraine. Maybe they would inspire stakeholders to use more green approaches in their construction activities. One of the successful projects, this is certification of a supermarket building. A lot of green solutions were implemented, like the renewable energy use for ventilation, conditioning, and heating, using the modern cold systems, and water consumption for technical use and amenities. Other projects are energy modeling and commissioning for low carbon certification projects, also utility projects. And given the large-scale invasion that we are in now in Ukraine, and efforts in the Green Deal are continuing still in Ukraine, and we hope that the continuous steady development projects will be implemented through stakeholders, by municipalities, financial institutions, banks, and the like. At this point, my brief presentation is over. Thank you very much. We have contacts. I'm ready to answer any questions and continue communication on this. Thank you. Thank you, Irina, for this review. And as I told at the very beginning of our event, within Smarter for EU, we assume certain development of certification for residential buildings in Ukraine, and we will work closely with our partners on that. And it's good that we have just reviewed this review and options that are being considered for certification at the moment. Now I give the floor to Volodymyr Smoly from Energy Efficient Cities of Ukraine. So, this is our partner for implementing projects in Ukraine. The association has a huge experience of working with communities, and the communities are the stakeholders in this project. Therefore, it would be very good to listen to Volodymyr what role of the cities could be in stimulating the energy efficiency investment and in developing of such projects. Volodymyr, you have the floor. Thank you, Anastasia. I switched on my presentation. Can you see my presentation? I would leave it in this mode so that you could see it. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Volodymyr Smoly. I represent the Association of Energy Efficient Cities of Ukraine, which is a partner for implementing Smarter for EU project in Ukraine. And my presentation is quite ambitious by the name. So this cities and their role in stimulating green investment in the for vulnerable residents and how to attract investors. What I have seen until now, and with the desire to speak about this, on what advantages and disadvantages are there, some colleagues described that to some extent, but I would focus on some practical aspects and to write a to-do list so that to understand as to where activities could be applied to efficiently at the expert level, scientific environment, so that the green investment would work. We're speaking about buildings, and we start from this slide. Why it is important? The municipality and experience and association experience, neither climatic plan or steady economic development of each city would go without considering the sector of residential buildings, because it's very big, both for energy consumption and CO2 emission, not using any and establishing high parameters for brand new construction. Without those, we would never reach the green transition goals for the covenant by the covenant of mayors. So 20% drop would never be able to attain without this. Currently, 30 to 40% of energy is consumption, and the same is for CO2 emission. Also, it's a great consumer of construction materials. 25% of all the wood which is used in construction activities or operation of buildings used. Therefore, the construction sector has the great potential from economic standpoint to reduce energy consumption and CO2 emissions. Here we not only speak about energy efficiency of buildings, but also at the level of green construction in a very broad context. Why the green construction is topical for Ukraine? There could be many answers to that. First thesis was in the previous slide that the construction sector is the key for economy, but given the rebuilding of Ukraine, it would grow and reinforce even greater. And the construction sector would become a locomotive for the national development and growth points for economy on the local level. the green buildings is a part of good and right planning. On the last conference, we heard that in rebuilding of cities, these document has much broader meaning. So the communities should think how to develop more perspective and modern spatial development plans and build better when it used to be. The green construction is an indicator for adaptation of our state to the EU Taxonomy and the EU standards, and the green certification system, which potentially could develop in Ukraine on its own within this project, could be an indicator that we demonstrate our wish not only to observe but to become an active participant in the process. Speaking in the presentation, what the need to satisfy needs of the vulnerable population of the IDPs who had to flee from the occupied frontline territory and live in other regions of Ukraine. People have always needed residential housing, and that should be energy efficient and to produce less footprint on the environment and more environment friendly and steady. What is the green building? It was told in previous presentations, but this one illustrates it from a little different angle. This building of the higher class than the national standards allow, outlined in the Ukrainian regulations. This is the one building which was designed right, which was constructed right, and the steady green component is ensured, including amenities, conditioning of air inside premises, and servicing of the building. The green building is not only about energy efficiency. Smarter for EU project. This is the initiative which is being implemented not for the first year, and Ukraine as a partner for this project is in its second phase through consortium of 9 organizations from 7 countries. And in the previous phases, the project was working in much larger number of countries from the EU. And on this map, you can see the green construction is being developed not only in the highly developed, mostly Western countries, but in our closest neighbors who joined in a bit later to the European Union. And now, you could see how this system works. In fact, the green construction in context of the European Union differs from that of Ukraine. For them, the green construction is an advantage which allows better sales of the real estate, providing better financial aspects. Mortgage is well developed in the European Union, and when a person invests, it pays not only the mortgage payment, but also the other total, which consists of maintenance, payment for energy carriers, and other costs for living in that building. Because cockroaches overcome the but our buildings are not quite healthy, and the fact of living is not healthy. Buildings, results in going to the drugstores, and this slide shows how it works in the US. Green construction. It's more interesting in terms of green mortgage, in spite of the fact that living in such premises, in such flats, is more expensive than in the mass market. But in final analysis, it becomes cheaper. But in Ukraine, we have a special context. We have the rebuilding and energy security. And we believe that we are going to implement it, but now we are not taking market aspects into consideration. Now we are more focusing on energy security for every household, both on the municipal and national level. Here you can see the list of key interests of different stakeholders, different groups, specifically residents. They want to live in premises which takes less payment for energy. An increase of increasing part of such kind of residential building would increase to prevent energy poverty. And also we speak about competition, about energy resources. The war is ongoing, migration is ongoing, and people from the occupied territories, contact line territories, they are seeking for a new residence. And they represent the economic resource which is to be attracted to develop our economy. And on the national level, speaking about energy balance of all buildings, because energy efficient buildings would consume less energy, and that would be positive impact on consumption and dependence on traditional energy carriers. A couple of interesting words that I heard at the energy conference, Bucha in Kyiv Oblast, EcoDia from support of Berlin economists, rebuilding of housing stock in Bucha. And when we speak that rebuilding as it used to be, it costs 108 million. But to make it minimum energy efficiency standards, it would cost another 108 million euros. To make it, to bring it to NZEP standard, it's 212 million euros. These numbers say that this is very expensive, but if we consider the economic aspects and scenarios and effect, then the cost of energy would cover the real cost. We see that NZEP standard for those buildings could ensure the colossal level of energy consumption up to 74% of the basic level. Speaking about the payback, to bring housing to the minimum regulated parameters within 15, then it would be, and that would be much shorter. Speaking about how the green construction should work in Ukraine, we should review this Smarter for You experience from our countries. For example, the Romanian construction. organization which develops the concept of green construction, which has local green construction standards. They use it, and they attract both the national level and local level, and business developers and banking sector. So this is interrelated process that we should follow. The stakeholder in Ukraine is the state, which has the task to develop the regulation base, which would allow that the state has the priority of energy efficiency building with higher standards compared to the minimum requirements. Also, the local governments who could directly affect the cost of the square meter in the residential housing, and applied various regulatory frameworks to develop, to stimulate developers in places to make it, to build it better. Developers are also important factor. They cannot be considered outside, but be developed jointly with financial instruments and financial institutions who participate in rebuilding and funding brand new construction. Also, there is an expert community that would work with the educational institutions and profile ministries to develop the new generation of specialists, designers, foremen who would design and implement construction activities in a new style. How to make it more attractive for implementation? This is a rhetorical question, but for me, this is obvious. We cannot make people, force people. We need to stimulate people do that. And our expectation that we jointly with our team, with attraction of stakeholders who represent participants, is represented by participants of this seminar, to develop a step-by-step plan for our state institutions, how to introduce green constructions and NZEP into our regulations, to develop the legislation preconditions to make construction market move gradually to green construction, not through investment of people, but through attraction of credit resources, to involve banks in the process, local governments who could affect the instruments of influence, which would allow the high-class construction following the green standards. And here I would like to provide an example which development of industrial parks is the priority for the state, and it devised absolutely different legislation, starting from allocation of land parcel, and it created absolutely different rules of the game and preconditions so that the support system would be available. And the same could be done for the green construction in a form of advantages or compensatory subsidies for energy, green energy projects, like connection of 1 kilowatt of energy to the building. Non-passive players could be cities, which take special development plans, general city plan, regulations of by communities for their special plan development. so that the most interesting places in their places could be used for green building standards, and also regulation of frameworks by city building authorities and councils. And the single financial instrument, which is in local government, this is the rates, rent rates, so that they could set up less smaller rates compared to mass market for the green projects. And if there is a need for legislative regulation, we could do it. In the complex, here there are representatives from different sectors associated with construction and international organizations. So we have a to-do list for the following periods to create preconditions for the green construction activities, which are the development or adaptation of standards for green construction certification. We would be glad to listen to the expert community, as to the existing certification systems on the national level, national certification. Also, we need to analyze the national legislation and specialists who work in construction sector who could help us in order to identify points in order to create a framework to introduce green construction on the national level. Staff training. Here we need to cooperate with the educational institutions so that they would teach not just architects, but green architects, various construction workers who would do the right things in green construction in some projects, and maintain constructive dialogue with international financial institutions and banking sector, who would play a great role in this process in financing the new green construction. And this process is mutually interesting, and we can bring positive things to both the developers who would use financial resources, but also to the national economy and banking sector. So I almost covered my time. This is what I wanted to say, and I'm glad to join in the discussion, which would be at the end of our conference after the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Volodymyr. I give the floor to our Irina Marchen-Eyre. She will tell about the greater part of this project and support that it could provide to the stakeholders, like communities, like developers, and those who have technical questions on using the certification systems and the like. And one of the advantages of this project that we are aiming at the pool of knowledge that we could share with the stakeholders from different countries, including Ukraine. Eva, I give you the floor.
Thank you so much. So let me try if you'll be able to see my presentation.
Eva, your presentation is being shared by
I'll just
audio, so
share my screen. Okay, so I'll stop sharing then. Stopped, and please, if you can help me. Yeah, so I stopped sharing. So if you have it prepared and share for me, that would be great.
презентацію. Так, дякую.
Lovely. Thank you so much. My name is Iva. I represent Habitat for Humanity, and I'm a Smarters lead on energy poverty solutions. And today I have the honor to, I think, mostly summarize what already has been said, and it was a lot. So I'll try to maybe go a little bit quickly through my presentation, so we have some time for discussion, and give you a very short summaries of key points to remember from today. And I'm also hoping to present you our current offer, basically. So there is already quite a few things, few ways how we can already cooperate with you, with municipalities, with local or central public bodies. So I'm also hoping to just go through the list of key things we are currently implementing, things you can be part of. So the next slide, please. Okay, can we move the presentation to the next page?
There is
oh yeah, good, yeah. So now we am. Okay, yeah, so as it was said, there's a few questions here. Can it be fast? Can it be perfect? Can it be affordable? Well, we answer yes, it must for all these three questions. Basically, the matter of speed, as it was said, it's not just about the climate change, meeting the green goals of the European legislation, but especially the possibility to be more resilient and have energy diversity, less dependence on sources of energy from Russia. In order to do this, of course, it needs to be perfect. That's why we are really striving for the highly green energy, for highly green solutions. There is, of course, when it comes to the immediate reactions to the current situation in Ukraine, we are not at all trying to push anyone who's interested to work with us into the highest possible, the highest level of green right away. But this is something we are striving for, and we are always trying to have this in mind when we are advising on projects. And lastly, can it be affordable? As it was already said, yeah, it has to, the perfect solutions doesn't come cheap, and in order to make it available to as many people as possible, we are trying to think of the ways how to bring public funding, international funding into the picture, and use it not only to subsidize or pay for the high energy bills, but mainly to unlock private funding. So it's about usage of public funding as a guarantee, for instance, for private loans. So this is important, and I will be mentioning this today a few more times. So the next slide, please. The next, I would like to tell you about the beginnings of Smarter, just to give you a bit of an understanding of the scope of our project. It has been first piloted in Romania in 2007, and since then, we've developed two phases. The first one got the EU funding in 2019. And the second one, the current one, started last year and will be finished in May 2025. However, this is definitely not the end of Smarter. I would say it's just the beginning, because we are hoping to establish a legal entity during this second phase of the project, an organization which would take over the smarter activities and make them more sustainable. The next slide, please. Yeah, I still cannot see the third slide, but I'll start talking anyway. I would like to tell you now a bit about the key stakeholders we are working with. There are 4 of them. The first ones are the banks, the private banking sector. And here we really want to make something which all stakeholders included will benefit from. So basically with private banks, it's about creation of green funding products, of green mortgages, green loans, and making them discounted. So the final beneficiaries are more enticed to use them and to build green. So the bank is getting an agreement and a new customer, while the customer is getting a better deal. Why? Because the risks of building are lower than in the ordinary constructions. Of course, if you have a high quality building, you spend less on repairs, you spend less on your energy bills, hence you have more money at the end of the month to pay back to the bank. So yeah, the bank makes money, the consumer is happy, the project developer who's selling this type of property is also more willing to invest in these types of developments. And finally, the fourth player there is basically us and our partners. Our ultimate goal is to unlock green funding in Europe and speed the renovation of European housing stock. So the next slide, please. And next, I would like to tell you a bit. I think Vladimir already used this slide about the monthly costs of living in a property. So just this is just something we always try people would keep in mind when deciding what sort of property to buy. It's not just about how much you pay back to your bank, how much you pay for a loan you took, but we are always mindful also of the other types of costs, which are, it's like sometimes it's really even hard to put a price on it, right? Like, what is the cost of your health, or the ability to focus, being fit enough to go to work. So it's quite hard to put price tags on these, but strictly in the numbers language, there is in the long term, you could still see that there's obviously a price to pay if you are not living in a healthy building. So we are just always encouraging people to think of their projects in a long term, in decades, and this really, we think, is also something which does apply to emergency housing as well, because in many countries we've seen in Europe in the recent conflicts that quite often people would live in their emergency house for more than decades. In the Western Balkans, there are still people who are living in the house they've got as IDPs. And so, especially for people who are survivors of conflict, who perhaps have some additional health issues to tackle, this is also something to really keep in mind, that there is a price to pay. Next slide, please. Yeah, the next slide, and I hope you are able to see it. Is yeah, I'm so sorry. Is it just slow down for me, or you are or you are already seeing the slide savings?
No, we are seeing the slide net savings with green mortgages.
Great. Yeah. So it's a bit delayed for me. I see. No worries. Yeah. So with the net savings, here I just again, you already saw it with Volodymyr. What I just want to highlight, that with just a little bit extra money you put into higher quality of housing. So here we have EPCB, which is already quite a good house in comparison with the green standard. So you put just a little bit extra, and in the long term, so here we have a calculation after 1 year, you could see that within 1 year, for instance, you could save almost 2 monthly mortgage payments on the higher quality house. So it really is interesting to at least make the math and calculate your options when deciding what type of house to strive for. Yeah, so then the next slide, I think we can skip it. It is the picture you've already seen on Volodymyr's presentation. So what we understand is green. It's not about energy, not only about energy efficiency and saving energy, but it's also about non-toxicity of materials. It's about the time you spend on commuting to the city center, so that the whole quality of life. Okay, then slide number 8, please. And there you will see that a very nice picture of a pilot project, which is a highly green building, which we implemented, we built in Romania during the pilot project. So just to give you an idea how this building looked like. And the slide number 9, please. That's just a summary of some toolkits we've developed previously. And just shout if you do not see what I see, just let me know. As it was said, Smarter has been previously putting together a list of recommendations of what do we consider as a green building. So what are the criteria? And it's important to say that today we've discussed different types of certifications, LEEM, DREAM. So the Smarter certification is just one of many. We are not really pushing anyone to use it, but what we think is an added value of our toolkit, or of our very comprehensive list of recommendations, is that it's free of charge, and it's an open source you can use. So the way how we work with Smarter project is that we have a group of organizations. As Volodymyr said, it's 9 organizations, experts on green housing, green finance, and this group of organizations can give you guidance on how to choose the certification you like, or how to certify building using Smarter certification. So we are just really advising on ways what would be the best solution for you, for a specific project in a specific country, and we are trying to do it in a way that it's still your choice what type of certification, paid or free, which one you would like to use. The added value of the current project is that we do have experts within the consortium who are able to dedicate their time to give you three advice on these questions. So we do have these toolkits in multiple languages, and there will be soon also one toolkit in Ukrainian, so you'll be able to use, and will be also in touch with finance institutions in Ukraine and disseminate this this toolkit. So the next slide, please. So the next you could see, and I see we are a little bit short of time, so I'll be really trying to speed up. Next you can see the partners in the previous project. So we still do cooperate with quite a few of them. On the slide 11, you could see again the map where we are currently providing our services. So it's 17 countries plus 3 countries are currently being in preparation. And slide 12, please. The bank partners. And here you can see that we've started with 2. Currently, we have 14 banks who are supporting our project and cooperating with us. So it's really quite an immense knowledge and network of finance institutions we cooperate with. And let's please jump into number 15, the Smarter for EU Impact. So can you see the slide, please?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah, so here again, I just want to say what was different with this Smarter project as opposed to the first phase. It's definitely the urgency we see in making us less dependent on Russian sources of energy. And in order to do so, we are aware that Ukrainian municipalities and public bodies will need probably support with there's just so much to take in, right? So many different technical solutions, certification, legislation, you name it. So in order to make this headache a little bit better, we are providing what we call a European Center of Excellence. So this is first our website, which has been recently published, which is a sort of an one-stop shop for all different kinds of stakeholders. And this website, which will also soon be joined by a legal entity, an organization, which will provide capacity building for organizations, NGOs, municipalities, public bodies. So this is, I think, one of the biggest values currently of our project, that we do have these experts who are able to dedicate their time to give you an individual guidance. Now let's please move 2 slides into 17, the hybrid funding and blending of public and private investments. So while the most of Smarter project is about making those connections between developers and the banks, when it comes to vulnerable families and social housing, we are trying to go even one step further, and we are trying to be here as a connecting point between you as a municipality, thinking of developing a pilot project, social housing for IDPs, or for housing for migrants. So we are trying to be this link between you and the finance institutions, but also international organizations, EU entities, EU bodies. in order to help you to ease this process of developing of a project which would provide highly green solutions also to vulnerable families or low-income families. And of course, the way how to do it again is trying to use those different pots of money, of public finance, but also NGO, embassy finance, international cooperation with international organizations and the development sector, in order to mix all these sources in the way which would work for your project. So next slide, please, number 18, Plan for Ukraine. And I think, yeah, this one is really the real meat of my presentation. So just to summarize what is currently possible and what can we deliver. So first of all, as I said, the certification, either usage of smarter certification, the tools with guidance, or guidance which would allow you to use certification available on the ground, available currently in Ukraine. How we do it, we do offer online education courses. There has been already quite a few. We are still planning another few sessions. So maybe after this this presentation, we can also send you the registration link. I believe also some of you who've been participating in these courses are already here. It's a way how to provide your staff with an extra education, with a certification in green housing. Another way how we can support you is the individual consultation. So if there's anyone here who already have an idea for the project, or is already starting to develop project, looking for funding, looking for guidance on how to tweak this project, how to make it more green, more sustainable, based on a memorandum of understanding, we are currently able to dedicate the time of our experts and to provide you individual consultation. So this, of course, can be done through our Ukraine partners, who will then connect you with maybe with some other partners in the consortium who have the specific knowledge needed. Then the third way how we support you is the catalog of good practices. So already implemented projects in different parts of Europe, which could be used and could be implemented in Ukraine. This catalog is going to be introduced in the next month. And finally, also really, because we are still talking about this cooperation of public and private sector, we are hoping to increase or improve the ways how you can reach or how these two groups can communicate. So one of the ways how we would like to do this is a conference which is going to take place in October this year. We are hoping to bring together representatives both of public sector and the private sector. We are going to inform you about this conference also in the upcoming months. And so, of course, again, this would be a perfect opportunity for some of you who are already thinking about starting a pilot project which would bring the green solutions to vulnerable families. Of course, for these projects, we are not expecting or not pushing anyone again to go for the highest green standards possible. We are aware that in the current situation, one needs to be realistic with what can be built in a short amount of time. But again, we believe that there's always space to do some little tweaks, and we already know about companies and solutions, for instance, the modular housing solutions which are available on the ground currently or been implemented in other parts of Europe. And maybe to just really summarize this, saying that we have also quite a few partners from Central and Eastern Europe where we do struggle to some extent with a few similar issues as Ukraine, or I mean Ukraine before the war. So definitely the social housing, the lack of affordable rental housing, buildings or housing in apartment buildings. So there's quite a lot which I think connects us, and then a few shared experiences, and that's why we are quite confident that we still have something to share and maybe some good experiences to share in order to make your projects as green as possible and as fast as possible. So this is from me. I'm sorry that maybe I have took a little bit more time, but now I'll give floor to EUEA, and let's do the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. Thank you so much to everybody for your presentation. That was very insightful. Я повернуся на українську, чомусь я почала говорити англійською.
I will switch to English. Today, up to 10 minutes, we have overcome our time. Still 10 minutes. We have 4 questions. There have been questions in the chat. We will start from them. And here the question was from our colleagues, you know, very detailed. Maybe somebody from the EU could comment. There is information how much the current cost is assessed in the US dollars or in euros in the EU, and how much it could be in this cost could be in Ukraine, given the green construction requirements. Who could answer that from colleagues? Do you have such information?
Can you just repeat cost of what? Yeah,
cost of the construction, of the green construction of the build.
Maybe price for square meter of new building according to standards of green building.
Okay, якщо ми зараз...
Let me pick that up. I don't know Ukrainian costs, so I'm not going to talk about them. I don't know. But the hypothesis, the thesis behind going green, and we've seen it in the examples, several examples. Volodymyr spoke about it earlier in extra costing, gave us some examples, and Eva has just put up some tables or examples. One kind of building which is more energy efficient, which is greener, which is healthier to live in, is more expensive per square meter at the point of building. But at the point of use, which is the example, it becomes less expensive in the examples that we've seen. And in the overall life cycle cost, it becomes considerably less expensive. But I know, there's a small example I make, no generalization. I did a renovation on my home and changed my home to a net zero building. And it is throughout our cold winter, lovely and warm, and way cheaper than it used to be for energy cost. And I'm making the same. And I also know, to do with lower cost, affordable housing, the person who built my zero emissions home built an estate of houses in one of the Irish counties, which were fully net zero, but also affordable. And one of the examples that came from it on national television was a family where they suffered from asthma and breathing problems because of the local external environmental pollution. But in this new home, with proper air conditioning and filtering systems, they actually cut out their medical bills and their asthma went away. So there are multiple benefits which have been mentioned, on which I can't give you Ukrainian cost examples, but where these are realities and not figments of our imagination.
Дякую, Пет. Святославе?
Я б сказав,
Thank you, I would say the cost it differs from cities to cities. What we spoke with Volodymyr earlier, and what we discussed with the additional cost for energy efficiency buildings, it was up to 15–20% from the cost of standard buildings. Analyzing our market, that the buyers, given a lot of IDPs, they refer to cheaper buildings. They don't take into account the green. So in our reality, there is no question, whether it's more expensive or less expensive. But here, the local government, challenge is how to make it in a way not to rebuild it afterwards. So the need is that the civil construction, which is ongoing now, should be right from the very beginning in order not to rebuild it in several years. So not to apply plastering on the walls later and to insulate them. But at the same time, the green certification, it's not about energy efficiency only. Also, there is a number of criteria. And the life quality consists not only about energy bills, but from other factors too. And this is the question not about the cost, but the mechanism how to make green buildings cheaper through regulations and allocation of land parcels, so that to increase the number of green buildings. So the high emission buildings should be taxed at a high level. Therefore, the buildings which are not creating high emission, they could be balanced, and competition could be built. Since the existing buildings do not pay such tax, and we need to reduce tax load on energy efficiency buildings. Thank you, Irina. Very quick, please. I confirm the residential buildings for A class. So we renewables. There have been many studies on the international level on green certification. It depends on the level of certification and when the certification process started, and the more this process in the design cycle, the less cost it will be. Of course, it's accompanied with certain activities to increase the energy efficiency level and the like. Thank you. Thank you, Irina. Alexander Rogozin, your question, please. Very quick. We have less than 5 minutes. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Very interesting. I present myself. Alexander Rogozin, President of the First Energy Council. So this is an NGO dealing with studying issues of energy. The brand new construction is a very important thing, but to understand then very important to make it more environmentally friendly. All those issues should be well coordinated with development plans for district heating, water supply, and the like. As we know, there is a new EU directive on energy efficiency. Article 25 says that all towns up to 50,000 are to develop their development plans for this district heating and cooling system. So consequently, I have the question. In order to make our work more efficient, all our activities should be well coordinated with development of the district heating systems development. I have the question, what status of implementing this directive? Do we have our internal plans for its implementation? Maybe somebody could respond to that, maybe Volodymyr or Mr. Sviatoslav. Thank you, Alexander. Colleagues, could you comment? I would say that the directive implementation issue, if we had representatives of relevant ministries, it would be good to ask this question to them. But the question of Mr. Alexander and what colleagues said as to how to reduce the cost of square meter in green buildings and bring it to the price that people are ready to pay. And energy use, both electrical and heat and gas, they are not advisable in green buildings that are being built following the conventional standards. For example, the Bucha research on buildings, the reconstruction of those buildings which were damaged, bringing them to minimum standards. This is 380 euros per square meter. If NZEP standard should be followed, that could be 40% on top of that. Speaking about NZEP green building, then we would speak about less need of the energy for such building. So we could reduce cost of connection to electrical power per kilowatt, and also local norms, including cost of land and the cost of construction. And payments for connection to electricity grid is some 15% of the total of construction, the cost of square meter, and the cost of land parcels is 5% approximately. So we need to stimulate it by the state, so up to 20% of the total cost of square meter. When we create the system of privileges, this is the minimum that we could use so that the state and the local governments could reduce the cost of square meter in the green building, more or less competitive under uneasy economic conditions existing in Ukraine and given the needs our population has. Volodymyr, thank you. We are to finish because we had I'm thankful to all, to you, I know that this discussion provokes a lot of questions and comments. We are ready to continue this discussion. Please track our announcements, and we will invite colleagues with regards to green certification. Thank you very much for your time for this event. We'll stay in touch, stay safe, and we'll continue our discussion. Thank you.